Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new segment for relationship advice for women called The Other Woman. Now, I know you might think, oh, this is about to get juicy, but really, it's about to be very informative. This is not a time to gloat or boast about being the other woman or having been the other woman. And this is the best time to find out that I was once the other woman. I'm thankful that I'm not in that situation anymore, but I would like to share with you all my testimony before I began to share with you testimonies of other women. So let's get straight into it, y'all. So I'm going to interview myself. And the first set of questions are going to be talking about the background and the context, just so you can kind of understand how it all started. So, how did I meet the man that I was involved with? Wow. So, I look, I didn't really know I was going to ask myself this question, but it's not funny because it happens quite often. I met him at church. I did. But I didn't know he was married. So let's see if that question is coming. Did you know that he was in a relationship or married when you first met? No, I did not. It says, if not, when did you find out and how did it affect you? So I met my husband now. Look, I done gave it away. In 2000, I believe that the beginning of 2015 or was the end of 2014. We just went to the same church. We actually, we're in the choir together. But I was a new convert actually. And I did not find out he was married until 2017. I did not find out he was married. And when I found out, I was just like, wow, you are such a liar. Like, you are such a liar. And I was like, you are such a liar. And you know, I just couldn't believe he was lying. But of course, he said he thought he was divorced. What's the next question? It says, what was your initial reaction when you realized that you were the other woman? So the thing was, at that time, I didn't feel like I was the other woman. I just was like, wow, I need to tell at that time, I need to tell your wife. I need to tell your wife because, he lied and said that I think his name, I think his wife at the time, her name was wife in the phone. And I would ask him about it, but he said, oh, my grandkids just, they put that in there like that. And, at the time I was very young. So I did not, and look, y'all done caught on. I said grandkids. So I was very young. So I really didn't, I was like, okay, I didn't question it. But then I was like, wow, she needs to know about this. I was like, she needs to know that he's out here lying like this. However, she already knew what was going on. And his thing was they filed for a divorce, but really it just didn't go through because they didn't follow up the paperwork. And I found that to be true, but still, you don't forget that you have not yet been divorced. But anyway, what's the next question? It said, what attracted you to him despite knowing his situation? So by the time I found out his situation, I was already hanging out with him. We never called it dating or anything like that, but I was already hanging out with him, right? And he was already buying me stuff. And so because of our age difference, he had to buy me things in order for me to be around him because I didn't see a point at that time in my life. That's just where I was at. And so what attracted me to him was he was so kind when I was in a situation of I needed money. And I thought it was, at that time, I thought it was very kind. That's what I thought. So the next question is, the next set of questions is about the emotional and psychological insights. Um, and the first question is, what were the emotional highs and lows of being the other woman? So the thing was, uh, like I said, I did not look at myself as the other woman because we weren't really dating. We were just hanging out. And I thought that, he was separated. That's what he said. He said he was separated. So when I was hanging out with him, I was like, I can't, we can't be we wasn't having sex or anything like that. But it was still like closeness, hugging, or whatever the case may be. And I was just like, we can't be even leading up to anything serious until, you get a divorce, because I'm not really comfortable with this situation. And so, with that being said, he, started his process of getting a divorce. Um, and it lasted a while because it didn't last that long, but he didn't really keep up with what he was supposed to be keeping up with. So, one of the main things was we have to be friends, and we can't do anything else. And one of the highs and the lows was when I was around him. At that time, I was in grad school, and he really helped ease, like, grad school was so stressful for me at the time, and just going around him helps take away stress. And like I said, at this time, I he was separated. I'm not sure what he was telling his, at the time, is now his ex-wife. I'm not sure what he was telling her, but I saw where they actually did file for divorce, but the papers, something happened. Either way it go, he was still married. So at that time, I didn't realize it like that. I was just like, okay, well, he's separated. So like I said, I didn't look at myself as the other woman because I was just hanging out with him. But when I saw that his divorce process had finally started going through and he actually received a date for the divorce to be finalized, we began to date. And one of the lows was I felt like a side chick. Like, even though he lived, in my state, that side chick name just rang in my head. It literally just rang in my head. Like, I did not like feeling like a side chick. And so the next question is, did you ever feel guilty or conflicted about your role in the relationship? How did you cope with those feelings? So at the time that I feel guilty, I didn't feel guilty. Like, at the time, I did not feel guilty. Because like I said, they were separated in the process of a divorce. However, my mind was very clouded. I couldn't hear God the way that now looking back at it, I couldn't hear God the way that I needed to, because I would be praying, Lord, is this the man for me or whatever? But now looking back at it, somebody who married ain't never gonna be the man for you. I don't care if they are in the process of a divorce or not. They still married in the eyes of God. They did not receive that hard copy paper from the judge declaring that the divorce had happened. So at that time, I was just confused. I was confused because I had been praying for a husband. And, although, I'm sure at this time that probably wasn't God's perfect plan for me. But I was praying for a husband, and this guy, he came around, and I tried to leave him alone. Like, I tried to leave him alone so many times because I just felt like, I felt like I shouldn't be with you. Like, I felt like I shouldn't be with you. But the way that I coped with the feelings is I kept asking for advice from different counsel, and they would say, the reason I shouldn't, go through with this relationship is because of the age difference. They would never say, because he's separated. You know what I'm saying? They would just say because of the age difference. And so I just ignored it. I was clouded. My mind was clouded at that time. I'm not even gonna lie. But the next question says, what was the most painful part of being the other woman? Um, being far from God and not realizing that he didn't approve of it. When I look back at the time, I didn't really understand that he didn't approve of it. Like at the time I didn't. However, when I look back at it, like where I am now, I'm pretty close to God now. You know, I was being more religious back then. I didn't know that God cared about, you know, the divorce paper. I didn't know that just because a person is separated, God still thought that that doesn't matter. In my eyes, they're still together. The divorce decree did not come yet because at that time, you know, his at the time wife, she still wanted him. So God honored her prayers, honored her desiring her husband at the time still. He didn't honor mine, my prayers, you know, and so that was the painful part. Realizing that, you know, that I was actually not in God's will. I wasn't in God's will at all. And then looking at why so many things were falling apart at that time in my life. It was in 2017. I remember a lot of things were falling apart, and I didn't understand why. I thought I was doing everything right. I just didn't understand why my spiritual relationship was falling apart. But it was because I was friends, whatever you want to call it, at one point, and then I was actually in a like a relationship. Not like we weren't having sex, but we was, you know, kissing. You still should be kissing somebody else's husband, even though they are separated. You know, so the most painful part was being far from God. The next question is, what were the emotional highs? I could have sworn I just asked that. Did I just ask myself that? I did. The next question is, what was the most? Yeah, I just asked that. The next question is, how did the relationship impact your self-esteem and self-worth? So the thing is, I know I felt like a special, but my husband now at the time, he made me feel so special. Like he made me feel like I was the stuff. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, how did it impact my self-esteem? Um, the way he made me feel at the time was like very good. But back now I look back at it, it wasn't proper. Certain things like the way I was dressing, you know, it wasn't proper. So I can say how it made me feel, but deep down in my heart, what was actually happening at that point in time, I'm sure it wasn't great, you know. So that's why it's not always good to go based on your feelings because your feelings can lie to you. Your feelings can lie to you. But either way, he treated me very well. But anyway, the next question is, did you ever try to end the relationship? Yes. If so, what made you go back? Okay, so I tried to run away to Kansas. I'm not even gonna lie. I tried to run away to Kansas. I had got me a scholarship. I had got me a great opportunity in Kansas, and I was trying to get away. Like I really was. I was like, you know, I shouldn't be in this. And so this is even before. This was before, you know, we actually started dating. I went to Kansas. I just felt like I shouldn't even be friends with this person. And it didn't work because I ended up being lonely in Kansas. And he paid me attention. And so he came to visit me in Kansas. And so isolation, isolation while you're trying to run away from sin will always cause you to go back to that sin. In my experience, don't isolate yourself. I thought I was running to the right place, but I really wasn't. I was running into a trap. And it says, how did you justify staying in a relationship knowing it was hurting another woman? So at that time, I wasn't thinking about the other woman or another woman. I wasn't thinking about her. I was thinking about the fact that, you said y'all were over, you know, that's, what I'm saying? I wasn't thinking about her being hurt because she had been with my now husband. She had been with him for a very long time. And I wasn't, like he was like their marriage was tore up long time ago before I came in the picture. And he had relationships. So basically they were separated. And what I'm saying, so like I said, I didn't look at myself being another woman. He had other outside relationships that she knew about. Like they knew what was going on. I'm the one who didn't know what was going on. And so how I justified it is this relationship been destroyed way before I came in the picture. And not just that, he's getting a divorce. That's how I justified it. He's getting a divorce. Okay, his divorce is in process. I literally looked it up online. And that's how I justify it. That it's okay. It's okay because he's getting a divorce. I see it online now. I see that it's in process. I see the court date. And in the world, that's very acceptable. It's acceptable. Like I said, nobody ever told me that I shouldn't be with him because he's in the process of a divorce. Or if they did, I didn't really listen. But what they mostly talked about was the age difference. And once again, I didn't look at me as hurting another woman. I was so self-centered that I couldn't even think about somebody else hurting. And so the next set of questions is pertaining relationship dynamics. So it says, how did he treat you compared to how he treated his primary partner? How he treated me was very good. I can't say how he treated his primary partner at the time, except looking back at it now, it was very disrespectful. But how he treated me very well. Very well. And that's what confused me a lot, because he treated me so good. So good. And it says, did you ever feel like he was using you? Or did you believe there was genuine? There was nothing to use. I'm serious. We weren't having sex. We were not having sex. We weren't having sex, right? I barely let him, touch me at times, We might kiss here and there, and I would feel very bad after I kissed him because I just felt like that was a bit much. But we weren't having sex. I wasn't giving him no money. So I never felt like he was using me. Then it says, were there moments where you felt like you were in a normal relationship? Yes. How did those moments affect your decisions? So it validated me feeling, like, okay, this is it. This is the one I'm supposed to be with, It allowed me to let him drive me down to Georgia when something was going on with my mom. It affected my decisions by saying, okay, we can go out on dates now. We can, since his divorce is in process, we can go out on dates. We can, go to the movies. We can go to dinner. It's okay if I talk to him on the phone for hours or whatever. And so, yeah, it just caused me to go in to a normal dating relationship. I actually made him give me a gift when he finally asked me out to be in a relationship with him. He asked me out to be in a relationship with him after he finally put in his divorce process, because I said before, well, you can't date me. until you do X, Y, and Z. So he did X, Y, and Z. He put his divorce process, in the court system, and he showed me, and then he got me a gift. And I was like, okay, we can date now. What did date mean? We just call ourselves official. We're exclusive or whatever. The next question is, did you ever meet or interact with his wife? If so, what was it like? Okay. I did. When I first found out that he was married, that's when we were just hanging out. When I first found out that he was married, I took his phone and I called his wife. The reason I knew that was his wife at the time is because it said wife in his phone. I was just too naive to realize that it said wife because it was actually his wife. I believed what he had said, and he could still argue that point to this day, that his grandkids put it as that. Either way it goes, he was still married at the time. But I called her and I let her know what was going on. And she was just like, wow, I am tired of my husband. I am tired of women calling me about my husband. I'm tired of women calling me about my husband. And then I told her that, he would pay for my credit card bill and stuff like that. And she said he paid for mine too. But she said, I'm going to talk to him, or whatever the case may be. But to be honest, it was weird because it was like they were separated, because he lived in Georgia and she lived in California. And so he would go up there to visit his children. And it was just weird because the way she was talking is she's used to this. So it was very, very strange to me. Okay, so the long-term impact is what these next set of questions are about. The question is, what was the turning point that made you leave or stay in the relationship? So I obviously stayed in the relationship, and I stayed at the time because he proceeded with his divorce. Like I said, I told him I would not actually date him, hang out with him in, those romantic ways or whatever, until he put the process of his divorce in the court system. And so he did do that pretty quickly, actually. And we just ended up dating each other. And then as soon as the divorce happened, he proposed to me. Like, he was pretty serious. I'm not gonna lie. He was serious. And so his actions, he was serious about his divorce. He wasn't just trying to, with me, play the field. He was really serious about having a different life with me than he had before. So him actually putting his divorce in the court system is what said, okay. And not just that, but him actually getting that divorce and him showing me the papers, and then I saw it in the system. That's what was like, okay, wow. So you're finally divorced. Cool. And so the next question is, how has being the other woman affected your reviews on relationships now? Ooh. Where I am now, I don't, I know the world likes to say, well, he was separated, he was separated. So really, I mean, were you ever really the other woman? He was separated. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter if he was separated or not, because the way God looks at stuff, I didn't realize that how God looked at stuff because I was still fresh in my walk with Christ. He was not divorced. Therefore, in God's eyes, he was still married to that woman. And then she still wanted him. He had cheated on her for probably 15, 20 years. She was used to the betrayal. Was it even betrayal anymore at that point? She didn't care. For whatever reason, she did not care. And then she probably feels even worse because he ended up leaving her when she should have left him a long time ago. So it's greatly affected my views, not just because I was in that situation, but because as my relationship with Christ developed, I didn't realize, even when I did not realize I was wrong. I thought I shouldn't just be with him because of the age difference. But no, I was praying to God about somebody else's husband. I don't care if he was separated. He was not divorced. He was not divorced. And so what I would, I don't even know if they're going to ask me this question, but I would never advocate for somebody even dating someone who is separated. I'll say wait, because if they get back together, that is their right to want to heal something before it's destroyed, right? And so and we'll probably have to have another talk on this, but it's greatly affected my reviews on relationships. At the time, because I saw so many different married men trying to talk to me when I was younger, I did not respect marriage. I did not honor marriage because I was like, y'all don't even honor it. So why should I? However, as my relationship with Christ developed, in his word, he says that all men, and that means men and women, should honor marriage, regardless if you're married or you're not. Regardless if the married person is honoring their own marriage, you need to honor it and look at it as sanctified and look at it as a covenant between God, the husband, and the wife, and not you, right? And you as anybody who's not in that relationship. And so, yes, it's definitely impacted my views on relationships. And so, do I regret my involvement or do I see it as a learning experience? I try not to live in regret, because the point is we all need to learn right from wrong. There are certain things I didn't know it was wrong because of that reason. And when I say wrong, I mean I didn't know, even dating somebody who was separated, I didn't understand the reason it was wrong, right? I thought it was okay. Like I said, I was confused. I don't regret it, but I would not advise it. And I definitely see it as a learning experience. And so, what advice would you give someone who finds himself in a similar situation? I know how tough it can be being in that situation, especially when you were fooled into the situation. I've learned that many women don't realize that, they are dating someone who is married, or they're talking to someone who is married, until after their feelings have deeply developed, right? However, if you find yourself in that situation and you feel like this is not right, but my feelings are too strong in this for me to just go cold turkey and get out, I would advise you to get you a mentor, get you somebody who can hold you accountable, who you will allow to hold you accountable. Don't be getting mad at them when they hold you accountable, but allow them to help pray you through it and allow them to help you walk out of it. Date somebody, and I tried before. Like, I tried to date somebody. I tried to go on different dates. It was difficult because I was doing it alone. I should have had another female friend helping me out of that situation. But the female friend I had, she found herself in the same situation, so we couldn't help each other. So don't let somebody try to help you who's in that same situation themselves, because they trapped too. Go to somebody who is free and allow yourself to be held accountable. And I believe with that type of community support, you and prayer, you'll be able to get out of that. And so it says, how did you move on from the relationship and what challenges did you face during the process? Like I said, I did not move on from the relationship. Well, I moved on to that adulterous situation into marriage. So after he got divorced, we got engaged. Then we got married. We didn't waste no time because, like I said, it was a real situation. It wasn't playing around. But yeah, so the challenges I faced during that process was shame, because we moved way too quick. We actually knew we moved too fast. Shame after we did it, right? After we got married, we was like, dang, we did this really quickly. But the whole point was we didn't want to fornicate or anything like that. We wanted to just, because we didn't, and it was really weird. But we didn't fornicate. Praise God. Praise the Lord for his grace. When I felt like the grace was gonna run out, I went ahead and got married. Bible says it's better to marry than burn with passion. But you know, I felt guilt. I felt like, wow, we moved too fast. It was weird. It was weird. The next question is, and I think this is the last question. It is there anything you would do differently? Go back in time? Um, maybe go to a different church. Not meet them, but no, seriously, because you're always going to be faced with the same challenges. Always be faced with the same challenges. Like, it could be a different person you're faced with it with. It doesn't matter if you didn't go to that church or, whatever, is in your bloodline that's trying to come and get you. Whatever generational curse trying to get you. It can come in many different shapes and forms. And so what I would do differently is I would learn how to break those generational curses before they try to come for me, because I come from a line of adultery. And we didn't look at it as adulterous, right? We didn't. Well, I didn't, but I do now. And so I would ask more questions. I was very naive at that time, but I would ask more questions. With the knowledge I have now, I would ask more questions. I would break generational curses, so that spirit of adultery would not try to find me, or wouldn't think that they had any type of legal grounds to me. And then I would always say, be open about your situation with someone who is strong in the Lord. Don't go to somebody who weak. And so I would have went to someone who's strong in the Lord, to help me through that. And so that's all I have for you. It's so interesting. It's so interesting that I chose to do this first. I wasn't even going to do mine first, but I was like, wow, I had an experience being another woman, and I can't start this segment of this podcast without being real with y'all. That's why when I do these podcasts, I say, I feel you. I feel where you coming from. Look, I feel you. I haven't done everything, but I've been in situations that God has had to pull me out of, walk me through. That way I can be able to relate with other people, because you never want to hear from relationship advice with somebody who ain't been where you've been. And some of you might judge me. Oh well. We all go through stuff. We all make mistakes. We have to grow and come through that and never do it again. Because me and my husband, we would never do this again. It's so many things that you do not think about. It's so many things that you don't think about, that your life is going to be so different. You just looking at what you want then and there. You looking at what you desire. You're not looking at what you're going to lose. Right? And I had a lot of different responsibility, even getting married, because I wasn't getting married to play around, even though I thought I was. The Lord had other plans, right? He wanted me to take on responsibility, wanted me to have children. Now you're married. It's not time to play. It's time to grow up. And I had to grow up very fast. I had to sacrifice a lot. So if I regretted anything, I couldn't play around no more. I had to grow up. So anyway, we have so many different women who have agreed to share their story. Who was the other woman? Some of them still might be the other woman. But look, if you're interested in hearing their story, tune in, because it is going to be dropping every week, okay, or every other week, something like that, until we run out of episodes. Okay, it's about to be about 10 other episodes, and we might do it every other week and every week. I don't know, because we still have Conversation with Grace, where I answer you all's questions. So thank y'all so much for watching, And tune in next week. Okay. Or, yeah, next week for Conversation with Grace. All right.